Why the hell are we not talking about this more? Millions of women go through perimenopause completely unprepared, like we did for generations with puberty, pregnancy, and postpartum. But what's the cost? There's an epidemic of incontinence, osteoporosis, heart disease, and a major drop in life quality. Here's the thing. We allow that to happen by keeping quiet instead of rebelling against it. We whisper about hot flashes. We laugh off bladder leaks. There are shelves filled with perfumed incontinence pads in every drugstore like it's no big deal, because we've been taught to feel shame instead of demanding better. But there is nothing shameful about having kids, about getting older, or about our bodies changing. If a provider told one of my clients that she should just accept peeing her pants every time she sneezes as it is normal because she had a kid, I would consider that outrageous. There is always more that we can do for our physical and our mental health. Just because something is common, it does not mean it is normal. We deserve the highest quality of life at 40, at 50, and 60 and beyond. And that starts with education, conversations, and taking action. So let's talk about what no one prepared us for and why this next phase of life could actually be incredible if we claim it. Welcome to the Doula Johanna podcast. Let me begin this episode by sharing a personal story. I am 41. I was nursing my youngest child until a couple of months ago. So most days, I still perceive myself as a rather young woman. A mother with a toddler could not possibly have anything to do with perimenopause, could she? But then I started noticing things. My sleep was getting worse, even though the toddler does not sleep in my bed anymore, at least most days. And at some mysterious point in time, my skin became really dry and so itchy. My energy was super unpredictable, and some days I just felt off. Not in a dramatic, life-changing way, but in this subtle, creeping way that made me question myself. Was I just tired from life? Was it stress? Was it normal? And then I started reading and listening to podcasts, and what I learned made me stop in my tracks. My symptoms, sleep disturbances, the itchy skin, the weird off feeling, were all consistent with perimenopause. Say what? I thought perimenopause was something that happened to women in their late 40s, not someone like me still nursing a toddler. But no, turns out it can start in our late 30s, even earlier for some women. It doesn't care if you still feel young or if you're not ready for yet another change. We just don't talk about it enough. At least not in Germany, where I live. No one prepares us. We're left to figure it out, quietly please, on our own, often misdiagnosed or dismissed. So I did what any reasonable woman would do. I called my gynecologist to schedule an appointment. The soonest available slot, 7 months away. 7 months. Great. In the meantime, I went down the rabbit hole. I discovered the work of incredible doctors like Dr. Stacy Sims and Dr. Mary Claire Haver, who light up social media right now with their amazing work. Reading their books and listening to them speak up first left me outraged. My initial reaction was a full-on pity party. I mean, seriously, what the actual fuck? How much more are we supposed to endure? First, we get our periods and have to learn how to deal with them. Then we have to avoid getting pregnant. And then we have to try to get pregnant. And then we have to be pregnant. And then we have to give birth, survive postpartum, and somehow raise small children without completely losing our minds and ourselves in the process. And just when we think that we've made it to the other side, when we finally start getting some of our freedoms back, our bodies pull another trick. Our estrogen starts dropping, and with it comes an increased risk for osteoporosis, heart disease, dementia, and that stubborn belly fat that seems to appear overnight. Who designed this? But once I finished my pity party, I tried to focus on the gift I received at a moment in time that I still have agency. where I can still try to do something about it. I get to see up close how intense aging can be. My dad is deeply worried about his memory, especially since his sister is battling severe Alzheimer's. My mom has faced multiple fractures over the years. I've watched how those injuries have impacted her daily life. She also had 2 severe heart attacks, the first at the young age of 70, even though she's physically active and she doesn't smoke or drink. Seeing my parents' struggles has been eye-opening. I love them, and it breaks my heart to see them struggle. And if there's anything I can do to avoid facing the same risks, I want to start now. If there's anything I can learn and share that might improve their quality of life or the life of my friends, I want to do that too. Because the reality is, so much of what happens to us as we age isn't just fate. It's the result of what we do or don't do decades earlier. And the more I learned, the clearer it became that we're not powerless. There are things we can do right now to set ourselves up for a better chance of having a strong, vibrant, and healthy future. But first, we need to start talking about it. All right, before we go any further, let's get one thing straight about the terminology. Because I swear, half the confusion around menopause starts with how poorly it's explained to us. Menopause itself is not a phase. It's one single day. I didn't know that. It's the 12-month anniversary of our last period. That's it. One day. And then, boom, you're postmenopausal for the rest of your life. Everything leading up to that, that's perimenopause. And it can last up to 10 years before menopause actually happens. Some women start noticing changes in their late 30s or early 40s. But because we don't talk about it, most of us have no idea what's going on and we attribute it to other things. So what are the symptoms? Well, this is where things get fun. And by fun, I mean completely chaotic, because estrogen doesn't just control our periods. It affects our brains, our bones, muscles, metabolism, skin, sleep, emotions, pretty much everything. So when estrogen starts fluctuating and eventually dropping, the symptoms can hit in all sorts of unexpected ways. Some of the most common ones are hot flashes and night sweats. These sudden waves of heat and sweating are caused by estrogen fluctuations affecting the brain's temperature regulation. They can be mild or intense and often disrupt sleep. There is insomnia and fatigue. Change in hormone levels impact the body's ability to maintain stable sleep cycles. Many women struggle to fall asleep, to stay asleep, or they experience unrefreshing sleep, leading to persistent fatigue. We have brain fog and forgetfulness. Estrogen plays a key role in cognitive function. As levels fluctuate, some women experience difficulty concentrating, memory lapses, and a general sense of mental fogginess. We have anxiety and mood swings. The drop in estrogen and progesterone can have effects on neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine, leading to increased anxiety, irritability, or mood instability. There is weight gain, especially around the belly. Estrogen influences fat distribution, and as it declines, the body tends to store more fat in the abdominal area, which is also linked to increased risk for metabolic diseases. We have joint pain and muscle loss. Estrogen helps protect muscles, joints, and the connective tissue. Lower levels can contribute to stiffness, pain, and a gradual loss of muscle mass, making strength training particularly important during this phase. And here's where it gets serious. Perimenopause isn't just about annoying symptoms for a while. It's about long-term health risks. Because when estrogen levels drop, our risks for osteoporosis, heart disease, and dementia skyrockets. All of the things that are happening in my family right now. Think about it. Estrogen helps keep our bones strong. Without it, bones weaken and fractures become way more common. That's osteoporosis for you. Estrogen protects our arteries. When it's gone, women's risk of heart attacks catches up with men's. Estrogen supports brain health, and research suggests that declining estrogen might play a role in cognitive decline and Alzheimer's. And yet, no one is warning us. No one is saying, hey, happy 40th birthday, here's what you can do to protect yourself. Instead, we get handed myths like, menopause only lasts for a couple of years. Nope, it's for the rest of our lives. Hot flashes are the worst part. For some women, maybe, but for others, it's the joint pain, the brain fog, the crushing fatigue, the heart attack. And my favorite, this is just how it is. Suffer through it. Absolutely not. There are things we can do, but we have to know our options. We've been left in the dark for too long. It's time we start talking about this, not just so we can survive these years, but so we can thrive. We are not powerless. There are actually great news. We are not just at the mercy of our hormones. We have powerful science-backed things we can do to protect our health and feel our best, starting today. Let's start with strength training. It's really your best friend in midlife. Who would have thought that I would be the one to say a sentence like this out loud? I always try to avoid the gym like the plague to the best of my abilities. But now I have to admit it. Strength training is one of the most powerful tools we have. Lifting weights isn't just for bodybuilders. It's essential for women, especially in perimenopause. Strength training tells your body to hold on to muscle, keep your bones strong, and even improve insulin sensitivity. And no, you don't have to deadlift 100 kilos. Bodyweight exercises or lifting moderate weights consistently can make a huge difference. Then there is protein, our secret weapon. Most women don't eat enough protein, and in midlife, it becomes even more critical. We're so focused on eating less so we can lose weight that we let our muscles starve. Protein is the building block for muscles, which we're naturally losing at a faster rate if we're not actively maintaining it. It also supports brain health and keeps blood sugar stable, helping to prevent energy crashes and cravings. Experts like Dr. Stacy Sims, for example, recommends at least 1.5 to 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, which for a 70-kilo woman would amount to 140 grams of protein. I don't know about you, but to me, that's a lot. I will get nowhere near that amount if I don't make an intentional effort. Please don't take my word for it. Do your own research. I didn't write that book. I didn't conduct that study. But it makes a lot of sense to me, and I am really looking now for new ways to increase my high quality protein intake. What else is there? Rest and stress management. We can't talk about hormones without talking about stress. When estrogen levels drop, cortisol, the stress hormone, can become even more disruptive. High cortisol levels can lead to belly fat storage, sleep problems, and increased inflammation. That's why rest, recovery, and stress management are non-negotiable. This doesn't mean you have to meditate for an hour a day, unless you love that. Getting more sleep, I wanted to say getting enough sleep, but I want to be realistic here. Prioritizing joy and setting boundaries is a really important start. Our nervous system needs downtime. Let's start by saying no to things that drain us. And then there's hormone therapy. Hormone therapy used to be feared because there was initial research that linked it to certain cancers, but that research has evolved. For many women, bioidentical hormone therapy with progesterone and/or estrogen can be life-changing, reducing hot flashes, protecting bone health, and even lowering risks for heart disease and cognitive decline. It seems like the protective effect is highest if you start before your estrogen is completely gone. But it's obviously not a one-size-fits-all solution. It's important to be informed. Talk to a doctor who understands modern menopause care, read studies, and know that you have options. Many of us are also deficient in vitamin D, omega-3 fatty acids, and calcium. let's invest some time and money to figure out what the situation in our bodies is right now. Remember my little pity party at the beginning of this episode? Why do we have to go through all of this moment? Well, I don't want to look at my life that way. Not now and not ever. Getting my period, pregnancy, postpartum, raising my kids, none of these were punishments. They were privileges. Messy, exhausting, chaotic at times? Yes, sure, absolutely. But also miraculous. Every single phase has shaped me into the woman I am today. And this phase, perimenopause, it's no different. There's a quote I cannot get out of my head. It says, if you don't learn to find joy in the snow, you will have less joy in your life and precisely the same amount of snow. I think about this every day. Menopause is coming, whether we like it or not. The loss of estrogen, the body changes, they will happen. But we have a choice. We can resist it, fear it, ignore it, fight it, or we can embrace it. We can prepare for it and step into this next phase with power, knowledge, and maybe even a little bit of excitement. This stage of life isn't just about what's ending, it's also about what's beginning. For many of us, our kids are older now, and for the first time in years, we're reclaiming time that used to be swallowed up by diapers, sleepless night, and constant caregiving. We get to rediscover who we are beyond motherhood, not beyond caregiving. Hello, dearest aging parents. There's a reason also why women in their 40s and 50s often describe this time as one of the most liberating of their lives. We stop caring so much about what others think. We speak up more. We set better boundaries. We start dressing, moving, and living in ways that feel good for us. Also, let's talk about sex for a second. After 40, it can actually get better for a lot of women. Why? Because it's no longer about trying to get pregnant. It's about enjoying connection, pleasure, and really knowing what we like. It's not the same for everyone, but there's a certain freedom once we're past the baby-making stage. We're often willing to speak up and ask for what we want, whether that's in bed or in life. And we realize that if we want to keep the spark alive with our partner, we need to have those conversations and be open. This phase can be a chance to level up our relationships and our intimacy. Somewhere along the way, we stop playing small. We start embracing our quirks, our opinions, our desires, and we stop wasting energy trying to be perfect, and instead we focus on being real. The women I admire the most in midlife, they're all a little bit unhinged in the best possible way. They say what they think, they chase what excites them, they reinvent themselves, and sometimes even multiple times. Aging is only scary if we think of it as a loss. But what's the alternative? I don't want to fight this transition. I don't want to be the woman clinging to a younger version of myself, afraid of change. I want to lean in, get stronger, get smarter, and embrace it with everything I have, because this can be the best time of our lives, if we choose it to be. So, what did I personally end up doing? I decided to doula myself. I got myself a barbell, and now my husband and I are working out in this very living room every other day. I finally stopped caring about losing weight, and instead I focus now on gaining strength. It makes me feel amazing. I try to go to sleep 30 minutes earlier, and I take my vitamin D religiously. When I finally got to see my doctor last week, she really validated me in my observations. And she told me that there is no need to start taking any hormones yet in my case, as my cycle is still regular. But once I start to experience vaginal dryness, I could come to her at any time to get a progesterone gel. Fine by me. We will reconvene again next year. What about you? Do you experience any symptoms that could be consistent with perimenopause? And what are you looking forward to in this new phase of life? I would love to hear from you. Just comment underneath this episode or send me a DM on Instagram at Doula Johanna. And if you have a friend who might benefit from listening to this episode, please share it with them. See you next week. Take care and be your own life doula.